We now know far more about the devastating school shooting that happened just yesterday. Heavily armed assailant wielding 3 different guns shot 6 people, including 3 children at a private elementary school. The attacker was eventually shot dead by police. And although not all of the identities of those who were slain has been released, I do want to acknowledge the human toll of this tragedy. Here are 3 of the victims: Catherine Kuntz, Mike Hill, and Haley Scruggs. William Kinney and Evelyn Dykos, as well as Cynthia Peak, were also shot. I don't believe that any photos of them have been released. They are the 3 individuals, human beings, tragically taken long before their time as a result of America. And I'll just say that broadly. It's a combination of our politics and our media, our rhetoric, our culture, our society, all of what we have allowed to happen or been forced to watch to happen has once again produced a toll that you can measure in people taken from their families, from their friends, and those are just 3 and then 6 in total. As I alluded to, we didn't know exactly what weapons had been used yesterday when we were talking about this, but we now know that it was an assault-style rifle, an assault-style pistol, and another pistol as well. In fact, the Metro Nashville PD has put out photos of the guns. You can see them here. And so, if anyone would like to, we can have another pointless debate about whether the type of gun matters. And I can weigh in on it, and maybe people in the audience can weigh in on it. But the thing is that the mass shooters have already weighed in on it, and they think it matters because whenever they can, they get these guns to make their job as easy as possible. Over and over and over again, it has become indisputable that they definitely think the type of gun matters. So anyway, we're gonna get into a little bit more of a look of how much of this sort of violence we've already had this year, as well as some of the attempts by the right wing to once again distract from the actual issue, which is the guns. We're gonna get to that. But River, I wanted your initial thoughts.
I mean, I just wanna echo, John, what you said, that there is a human toll, that lives have been lost and taken, and that these are like souls, Ernest Shackleton, I think in the late 1800s, spoke of the change in American media during wartime, that we shifted in our language from casualties to sacrifice. And I think that while over 100 years ago, speaks to what our society now sees this all as though these people were just a sacrifice of our freedoms. And I just don't think that has to be true. I don't believe that has to be true. And some people do, but I hope that, I don't know how many more, how many more wars, how many more children in this school, in this country, in schools in the Middle East, across the globe. How many children do we have to lose? And how many people caring for those children do we have to lose for someone to actually sacrifice what they believe is the freedom for someone else's life? Yeah, because that's where we're at.
Yeah. I don't know the number. My guess would be a whole hell of a lot would be my guess. Because this is devastating for a lot of reasons. In the context of 2023, it's one of the worst individual school-based mass shootings we've had. You have to be very specific in America when it comes to mass gun violence, because if you speak broadly, then there's just way too many examples. But we can say that, again, all this depends on how you define it. There have been more mass shootings in 2023 so far at this point than in any year since at least 2013. 130 mass shootings this year. And I'll remind you, Christmas was like a week ago. We just started this thing and already we're ahead of the curve. There have been 13 school shootings that resulted in death or injury. There have been other school shootings where no one died, thankfully. We don't even count those. That's just that gun goes off in a school, who cares? There have been 13 where someone actually was injured or died. And for our international audience, or for maybe some American viewers who aren't that aware of what happens in other countries or how things go in other countries, no other developed nation, I will remind you, has mass shootings at the same scale or frequency as the US. Some will have individual instances of gun violence that are particularly tragic. I believe you can see on that a few years ago in France. Sometimes something like that will happen, but it is a constant in America. And there are certainly things that make America distinct from other countries. but not generally the things that the right will focus on in the wake of these shootings, as we'll get to. Mental illness is a problem in America. You know where else it's a problem? Literally everywhere there are humans, because it's a natural part of the human experience. It's something that needs to be managed and hopefully destigmatized. That is not something that is uniquely American. There are things that are somewhat uniquely American. Our particular formulation of media, particularly right-wing media, is no longer as unique internationally as it used to be. But certainly the way that we talk about guns, the guns that are available, the encouragement to have an arsenal, all of this, gun culture writ large. There are countries that have a lot of guns. There are countries that have permissive gun laws. There is no country quite like America, though, when it comes to guns. And I don't know, I think maybe that has something to do with it. Or what are your thoughts?
I agree. I mean, I think that just to flip a perspective only slightly is that, like as you said, mental illness is not an America specific thing. It is a human specific thing that we are all affected by. But mental health care and just health care, because mental health care is health care, and the lack of it, period, whether that's access or just the existence of it, is an American issue, and to me is on purpose. We are awash in firearms, but not in healthcare. You know, I know veterans who have to wait in line for months to talk to somebody. This is an American issue, and at this point, I believe it's on purpose to keep us in this cycle and politicized and afraid of each other and buying up guns because we're afraid of guns. We think the only solution to more guns is more guns. So and not healthcare for everyone and safe schools and safe places. You know, the fact that people have now politicized a place you can walk into and not fear for your life somehow makes you weak. You know, it's just it's a twisted logic that we have here in the States that we're now exporting everywhere. Yeah. So I'm not sure.
100%. Yeah. No, their suggestion is always going to be more guns. We're gonna get to it soon, always. And look, I think for multiple reasons. I mean, definitely because they are paid by the gun lobby. Never forget that, like, although it used to be a thing where the right wingers would like pretend to be like agree, like this is a tragedy, and they maybe wouldn't post about guns for like 48 hours or something. We're past that. They don't even need to pretend anymore. They don't care when kids get blown to pieces. They just don't. Or to the extent that they care, it is so far down the list of their priorities that it might as well not even be there. The culture war aspect of being seen to be a defender of guns, as River was saying, playing into a constant fear at literally everything that guns is very useful in getting people to feel. All of that is just way more important to them than whether a kid's head gets blown off with an AR-15 or 10 or 100 or 1,000 kids' heads get blown off with AR-15s. That is just the truth at this point. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.